So I'm coming out the store and I saw this guy, he was sitting on his car. And it just instantly, this my stomach, I just felt something wasn't right. And he looked at me and my friend said, "Hey, how you doing?" Okay, no big deal. We go to another store on the other side of our district, okay? We come out again, this guy sitting on the car again. Outside, sitting on his car, and his car was running. So I looked at my friend and said, "Hey, this guy's following us, man." And my friend, he kind of laughed and kind of smacked me in the back of the head. Was like, "Dude, we're not that important. You're not that important. Nobody's following you. You're paranoid. What are you talking?" So I said, "You know what, maybe, all right. Maybe you're right." Well, a few hours later, we get dressed, we're going out, I come outside the building. It's this man, he's standing in front of the gate in front of our building, okay? So I said, okay, I'm going to have to ask this guy, who are you now? There's something in my heart now. Something is not right about this guy. So as I walk up to him, he had a cigar in his mouth. He asked me for a light. So as I'm digging in my pocket, I said, okay. I said, do I know you? I was going to say, do I know you from somewhere? But as I'm reaching down, I looked down, all I saw was a green flash. It was just a flash. I can never forget. It was just a flash. I didn't hear anything. I didn't feel anything. I just saw a green, like a neon green flash. So I look down and everything's like slow motion. And I look up and there he is again. He has the gun again. He shoots me again. Now this time it was like slow motion, but the look in his face, it was just like a so evil, like I got you look. Like it was a satisfied God, but it was the fabric of the hate was different. It was more intense than the regular earthly. It was like, yes, like I got you. Like, like a joyful off of, someone else's misery times 9,
Wow. And at that point you were bleeding out, I assume. And
yeah, see, no, the second, this is where it happens. When he looked and he shot the second time. Now this time I felt the force. I felt it. I smelled even more. But the weird thing was instantly I started falling back. I felt like I was getting hit with a sledgehammer. The force behind being shot, people don't understand. It has a velocity behind it. It has an impact. So I flew the second time. It got me. I can't explain the first time how I stood there. Just like everything was in slow motion. But the second time I flew back and I started falling back. Okay. But now this is where everything changes. And this is where my life changed forever. As I started falling back, everything got so dark, but it wasn't an ordinary darkness. Like this darkness was like, the best way I can describe it, it was alive. It was a darkness that was so dark. Like I said, you can blindfold yourself, bury yourself, blindfold yourself again, put yourself in a tomb, put that tomb somewhere under the ground. It still doesn't describe this darkness. It had a spiritual component to it. It wasn't a regular darkness. It was through me, in me, and it was a sadness. It was beyond description. Now, the weird part is because I was laying on my back, but I was falling forward. I was falling forward, but I knew I fell back, but yet I was falling down face forward, but yet on my back, looking up. See, that's the weird part. It's hard to even describe. I was laying on my back, but yet I was falling down. But as I'm falling down, it is so fast. It's like the fastest, like I say, it's faster than the speed of light. It's a different type of speed, like they say, I said it was 186,000 miles in a second. It's faster than that. It's a different form of speed. When I'm talking about the spiritual side, everything is maximized, but it's so different times a million. You don't lose your senses. You can see better, hear better, smell better, taste everything. Your functions and your senses are heightened beyond description here, like when you're in the spiritual realm. So as I'm falling down in this darkness, and see, you guys don't understand how much God loves us, okay, on a daily basis. I realize that we're all protected daily, okay? We're buffered from so many things he's keeping us from every single day, okay? And what I mean by that, because as I was falling, the terror that I felt, it had no limit. There were no limits to this terror. There's no limits to this. See, here we can, either you have a traumatic experience that's so bad that you have faint. It's like a safety mechanism, right? You'll kind of pass out, so you won't, be too overwhelmed. Or it's only a fear that gets capped off. It has a limit here. There's only so much you can get afraid here on earth. But that place where I was falling to, the fear just maximizing as I'm falling. All the attributes, and I knew these things. I knew everything. It was like everything, the attributes of God that are in us were leaving me. The attributes of fellowship, love, hope, laughter, just the things we take for granted. Like, they were leaving me.
You could feel that. You could feel them leaving you, just coming out of you.
Coming out of me. The darkness was stripping it away from me.
Wow.
The more and more faster, and it was being replaced by despair. It's a despair and a regret and a hopelessness that is it's a despair of the same way, it's kind of measuring time. measuring time versus eternity. There's really no comparison because time is inside eternity, right? So this form of despair is a different realm of despair. It's a different form of regret. And that's what the attributes of God leave you, and you're replaced with the emptiness. The emptiness is alive. The emptiness has purpose to be empty. It's hard to even explain that. So as I'm falling, and then one thing I noticed was the smell, okay? This smell even has the smell of it even has a spiritual component. If you was to even smell this, like I keep telling everyone, if you was to smell the smell, you would die right now. If it was here on earth, it was to be just one whiff, one whiff, your body wouldn't be able to take it. Your body wouldn't be able to even compute how to even operate, how to even withstand something like that. It's beyond the smell. The smell is even, but then I noticed it was a glimpse of, it was like heat, hot, and so I'm falling, I'm getting, and to see, like, I want people to try to imagine. I'm trying my best to describe, but as I'm falling, the more and more I'm afraid, more on the scale is going up, more and more, beyond horror, beyond in the loneliness. There's not, it's nothing to help you. There's nothing, your body, you're alone. The loneliness, like I said, the regret, the despair, and then just this new, the smells, because I just remember it coming outside. The thing that got me was the how fast the two dimensions, it was so instantaneous. I was just walking out the building, asking this guy a question. Now, what is this place? It's just so many things at the same time going through at one time. Now, as I'm falling and I'm feeling the heat, I see a little pin light. It's like a little light, but it's so bright, and I'm falling. Then I started to hear, see, one thing what I say is hard to describe. When you're in the spirit realm, from my experience, I knew there's nothing to learn. There was nothing to learn. There was nothing to figure out. There was no time. It's hard to even explain that. But I heard all these screams, and they were getting louder, just like as the light was getting bigger and bigger, these screams. But I instantly knew there had to be billions, hundreds of millions, maybe billions. But these screams are all, some were cursing out God, some were just in agony, the pain, some were making sounds that I can't even mimic. But the thing is, the weirdest part is, when I was hearing these things, they were all screaming, but yet I can individualize each scream. Just say if you was in a stadium at a baseball game and everybody's screaming, you can hear everybody screaming, but you cannot make out each individual. But no, you can make out simultaneously at the same time, each individual scream at the same time. It's hard to even fathom these things. Like, it's hard to even say. But as I'm falling, and then this little light, what I thought was a light, it looked like an old well, like an old rock cave system. But it was so hot. It was the stones that were illuminated that were orange, white, piping white, hot, yellow. It was just hot. It was a portal. Because when I got to it, it was so hot, and I could hear the screams and the smells. I was so overwhelmed. It's hard to even, beyond sensory overload. Because we're so used to being in the body. Like I said, the Lord, our Father, and our Father God has protected us from so much we do not realize. The Father's not there. You're stripped of every attribute of Him. It's like it's not allowed, pieces of Him are not allowed inside of hell. So there's no relief. There's nothing. The things that we take for granted, the simple water, every little thing. I knew all of these things. You start to know when you regret. It's a sense of regret. Like, oh, I took them for granted. No, I took them for granted. Like, it's in this portal. But it looked, and the thing is, I want people to understand, I instantly knew I was still here on earth, but I knew I was in the earth, but it was in a different dimension, but it was still here on earth.